With the death of Decebalus, Trajan wasted no time in organizing his new conquests. The kingdom of Dacia would split into two parts, a Roman and a barbarian state. Some territories to the northwest and across the Carpathian Mountains were left to the free Dacians. The rest was organized into the Roman Empire. Dacia Superior and Dacia Inferior, and almost immediately, Roman colonists began to settle the region. New mines centered around the extraction of raw ore began to pop up, and trade, agriculture, and animal breeding also all took off. The Romans built Sarmizegetusa in their own image, and this new town, Olbia Traiania Sarmizegetusa, became the central hub for everything in the province and also one of the wealthiest cities in the empire. After the first wave of settlement, though, the Roman state hardly encouraged the settlement of people from other parts of the region. This had an interesting effect, where the local population completely outnumbered the Roman settlers, yet still began to fuse their cultures together. This fusion of culture and the survival of much of the indigenous beliefs is the beginnings of the modern-day Romanian people. While this only slightly affects the story here, I just thought I'd talk about it because it's a cool detail to mention, and I'm going to bring it up a little bit later. A keen eye can see and point out that Dacia extends outwards away from the Danube, which had become a natural border of the empire. This geographical position left the province open to frequent raids from the free Dacians and also from other barbarian tribes on the periphery. This happened so often that the cost of garrisoning and protecting the province took a toll on the imperial treasury. Still, with the amount of money and commerce flowing through the region, it still made sense to hold on to it. Dacia was the site of multiple battles during the Marcomannic Wars, and like I mentioned before, the strategic vulnerabilities of the province were exacerbated further. As the empire began to fall apart in the crisis of the 3rd century, Dacia became a battlefield for the constant Roman civil wars and barbarian invasions. The constant warfare depopulated the province alongside Illyricum and Moesia. By 270, after Aurelian took power, it became apparent that Dacia was now way more trouble than it was worth. With the revolt of the Palmyran Empire, Aurelian needed to focus his efforts on stabilizing the Roman frontier and putting down the rebellion. In the year 271, Aurelian ordered the evacuation of Dacia. The Roman citizens who remained in the cities were resettled into the provinces of Moesia and Illyricum to replenish the population numbers there. While Aurelian did rename parts of Moesia as Dacia, the reality is that Roman Dacia had ceased to exist. In the following centuries, Dacia became home to many different barbarian tribes, the most important of which were the Goths. While the Roman Empire would still launch attacks and campaigns into the region, Roman authority never really returned to what it was before the abandonment. Any hope of the total reconquest died with the Emperor Valens at the Battle of Adrianople in 378 AD. The final thing we will talk about is what happened to the Daco-Romans. I previously mentioned how the fusion of Roman and native Dacian culture began to create the modern-day Romanian culture. While this is the leading theory for the formation of what would now become Romania and Moldova, there is another competing theory that I would like to at least talk about. Linguists have been able to pinpoint that the Romanian language began to form around the Danube River, particularly in what is then Moesia. Some scholars argue that the Daco-Romans left with the army, leaving behind not a Romanized region behind them, but an area inhabited by non-Latin speakers. It was the Daco-Romans who were resettled in Moesia and Illyricum that held on to their beliefs, and as the empire began to decline, constant interactions with the barbarian tribes in the region, along with gradual migration flows, reintroduced the now Proto-Romanian language and culture back into the region. While I am more so a believer of the first theory, I'm not opposed to the latter, and I would not be surprised if this is in fact what actually happened. It just needs more research and evidence for that to be called. I hope you enjoyed this exploration into Dacia and its history with Rome. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe, and follow me on social media, links in the description below. With that, having a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.